Good evening, you're watching World News Tonight on TVP World. I'm Aaron Darman. Ukraine is reeling after a Russian onslaught of ballistic missiles killed at least 19 people in Kyiv, with both the European Union and British Council officers also hit. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy calling the overnight attack one of the biggest strikes on his country. More on that in just a moment, but first, tonight's headlines. New Polish President Karol Nawrocki cuts his diplomatic teeth. Questions over how to unlock cash for Poland's proposed budget. And the country's COVID-era health minister is sent to hospital following a broad daylight attack. But we begin tonight with breaking news. An F-16 jet has gone down ahead of this weekend's Radom air show in Poland. Our newsroom has just obtained footage of the crash, which shows the plane rapidly losing altitude. The condition of the pilot is unknown. And we'll keep you updated with the very latest across the evening on this crash right here on TVP World. Ukrainians remain on edge tonight after a devastating air assault ripped through the country's capital, killing civilians, including children, and wounding dozens more. The strikes also prompted the EU and United Kingdom to summon Russia's top diplomats in Brussels and London. Let's go live to Kyiv now, where our correspondent Oz Chatterjee is standing by. Good evening, Oz. Good evening, Oz. How has the fallout been felt on the ground?
A terrible, terrible day for the Ukrainian capital. Air defense working throughout last night. The Ukrainian authorities say 598 drones were launched by Russia, but also 11 ballistic missiles and 20 cruise missiles. Now, there were significant casualties here in the capital. Many places across the capital were hit. Particularly badly was the Donetsk district, where we have so many of those casualties. 19 dead today so far around Kyiv. 4 of those are said to be children under the age of 18. So very, very sad day for Ukrainians in particular. Now, President Zelenskyy has released several statements in response to this. Let's take a quick listen to his nightly address.
What is needed is a clear response from the world to this evil. There are no deadlines that Putin won't break. There are no diplomatic possibilities that Russia won't ruin. We need decisive action. Thank you to everyone who understands this. We need sanctions. We need tariffs on those sponsoring this war.
Now, the search and rescue operations have been underway all day, with at least 1,500 rescue and emergency workers working to try and find further people that may be trapped under the rubble. So that number of casualties may continue to rise throughout the night. So a really difficult day. Now, the EU delegation building was also targeted, damaged in the attack, and the EU ambassador to Kyiv released a statement following that, saying this is Moscow's true answer to peace efforts. So very clear response from EU representatives here in Kyiv. But the question will be, will there be any further pressure on Moscow by the United States in particular in response to this? And hearing from the White House spokesperson, it doesn't sound like anything is coming specifically with regards to sanctions, but we hear that Donald Trump is expected to give further remarks about this attack later on. So we'll keep bringing you all of that right here on TVP World, Aaron.
Oz Chatterjee in Kyiv, thank you. And as we go to air, Poland's new right-wing president, Karol Nawrocki, is set to speak with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. It comes on the same day that Nawrocki met with presidents from across the Baltics and the Danish Prime Minister as he cuts his diplomatic teeth. Next week, he'll be in Washington to meet with Donald Trump. But not everyone is happy with Nawrocki's foreign policy posturing. Our defence correspondent Zuzanna Jurek reports.
The presidents of the Baltic countries and the Danish Prime Minister gathered in Warsaw on Thursday for a meeting with Poland's newly inaugurated President Karol Nawrocki.
The president is holding preparatory talks and consultations ahead of his upcoming visit to Washington. These are preparatory talks because the president is gathering opinions from the region.
Following face-to-face consultations, Nawrocki and his guests are to be joined by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy via a video call. These multilateral discussions come ahead of the Polish president's first state visit on September 3rd, when he will head to Washington for talks with US President Donald Trump. Ukraine is expected to top the meeting agenda.
We decided that it would be advisable for the Ukrainian head of state to be present before the video call in order to learn about Ukraine's perspective. Following the example of our allies, nothing regarding Ukraine can occur without Ukraine's participation.
This comes as Nawrocki seeks to exert greater influence over Poland's foreign policy, though he cannot do so independently of the government.
He is obliged to coordinate any of his endeavors together with the Council of Ministers. This is definitely and in very clarified way stated in the Polish constitution.
This cooperation, or rather lack thereof, has already become a point of contention with the Polish government. The Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs claims it was not briefed on the contents of the talks with the Baltics, despite shared views on the importance of regional alliances.
Both the Polish government has been developing this kind of a northern eastern dimension. Karol Nawrocki, the current president, in his first address to the parliament, he mentioned developing the closer relationship with the Baltic states. There should be really closeness here, but we understand that there is no coordination between the president's office and the government with regards to this meeting which is taking place today, which is really a missed opportunity, in fact.
In his first address to Parliament on August 6th, Nawrocki identified the Baltic Sea as a key foreign policy area that he will seek to strengthen during his term.
Poland should be a leader in building the strength of the responsibility system of NATO's eastern flank. In the long run, I dream that the Bucharest 9 will become the Bucharest 11, together with the Scandinavian countries. As Poles in Central and Eastern Europe, we are responsible for building the strength of NATO's eastern flank. This should also be the international geopolitical direction of my presidency.
But one key point of departure remains. Nawrocki has long held anti-Ukrainian views and he continues to veto pro-Ukrainian policies. This includes his recent overruling of legislation that would provide welfare to Ukrainian nationals residing in Poland. Experts note, however, for Nawrocki to solidify his regional ties, he would have to depart from these views.
If Nawrocki wants basically Poland to enter this Nordic alliance, that would mean that basically Poland would fall into this general EU line of supporting Ukraine.
For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
The next Polish budget has two key figures, 6.5% of GDP and 63 billion euros. They mean one thing: the state needs to borrow cash. This at a time when President Nawrocki is locking horns with the centrist ruling coalition and looking to shut down any plans to hike or impose new taxes. Jan Kennedy explains.
Higher revenues and a lower deficit. That's what Finance Minister Andrzej Domański has put on the table for Poland's 2026 draft budget.
The budget bill projects revenues of 151 billion euros for 2026, which is nearly 10 billion euros more than the 2025 forecast.
It comes as Poland's public deficit has surged over the past few years, reaching 6.6% in 2024. The Ministry of Finance forecasts suggest it could stand at 6.9% in 2025 and drop to 6.5% the following year. Amid record high defence spending, the government is now searching for new revenue streams to help cover next year's budget.
Next year, we will spend nearly 47 billion euros on security and defence.
Last week, the government floated the idea of increasing several taxes, including the alcohol excise tax, the sugar tax, as well as the corporate income tax for banks. But President Karol Nawrocki has pushed back, warning he would veto such measures.
I consistently believe that shifting these obligations onto new social groups, raising levies, raising taxes, is something I will not accept as President of Poland.
The president himself says that he's concerned about Poland's budget, but at the same time he's willing to use fiscal policy for political gains.
It's quite clear that this cohabitation will make fiscal policy more challenging or a bit more difficult for the government.
Bartkiewicz says the overall political appetite for tax hikes in Poland is marginal. Nevertheless, he remains calm about the future.
It's not the first time that we have elevated fiscal deficits, and we've managed to bring it down from, I think, 7% of GDP to zero over the span of something like 7 or 10 years, if I remember correctly. So we can do it again.
But there's always a risk. This time could be different. For TVP World, Jan Kennedy.
The man who led Poland's health response through the COVID pandemic has faced a brutal beating in broad daylight, with his attackers reportedly shouting death to the traitors of the fatherland before landing the first punch. Former Health Minister Adam Niedzielski was briefly hospitalised with non-life-threatening injuries. But as Kazimierz Słyszak reports, the incident reopens the debate on hate speech in a country divided along political lines.
This was no ordinary attack. First, the victim, former Health Minister Adam Niedzielski, who held that office during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Second, the timing, broad daylight. And third, the attackers reportedly shouting death to the traitors of the fatherland before throwing their fists at the former official. Former minister was briefly hospitalized with no life-threatening injuries, and the assailants have since handed themselves to the police.
This entire incident is the result of tolerating hate speech, but also of the decision by the Minister of Internal Affairs, Marcin Kierwiński, to remove my protection, despite numerous threats against me in public spaces.
The government has denied responsibility, pointing out that the minister enjoyed extended uniformed protection after the change of government, even more than standard protocol calls for.
Anyone who feels threatened can ask for police protection. After he finished his term as minister, Mr. Niedzielski never asked for additional protection.
But all political accusations aside, where does the phrase "death to the traitors of fatherland" even come from? Well, it was first used by the Polish soldiers in the Second World War when they were fighting against Nazi Germany, but nowadays it is most commonly associated with the conservative communities in Poland, especially the far right. Nationalist presidential candidate Grzegorz Braun even used this phrase during his election campaign earlier this year.
Death to the traitors of the fatherland is the slogan of my election program today.
And even though Adam Niedzielski is himself a member of a right-wing party, Law and Justice, he was often criticized for the handling of the pandemic. Poland had the worst ratio of COVID-related deaths among the 5 biggest EU populations, at 312 per 100,000 citizens. Still, violence should never be an answer, and experts say polarization in Poland is only getting worse.
The massive problem of hate speech, especially hate speech online, is yet to be tackled. If it is not dealt with, I'm afraid there will be many more cases of violence inspired by the propaganda of hate speech online.
The extremely thin margin of the recent presidential election also shows a society split in half.
The division in the society runs very deep, and the possibility to reach consensus, possibility even to talk to each other and to agree on some basic aspects is increasingly more difficult.
This assault against the former health minister is a sobering reality check for Poland and serves perhaps as the best proof of the boiling political atmosphere in the country. From Warsaw, Kazimierz Łysiak, TVP World.
Space is the limit. That's how Poland's defence minister has welcomed a new mission control centre in Warsaw's Military University of Technology. It marks the first time an institution in the country will be able to conduct satellite operations independently. Sonia Agata-Bischan went just a little closer to the final frontier and sent us this report.
Poland is reaching for new heights. On Thursday, the Military University of Technology in Warsaw held the grand opening of the Satellite Mission Control Center. The Polish Defense Minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, welcomed the development.
The Polish army is present in space, and its presence will become even more significant in the coming weeks and months. Today's opening and launch of the Satellite Mission Control Center marks a key moment in gaining the ability to observe, influence, and, above all, ensure security.
Space is the limit.
Until now, Poland has relied on foreign suppliers for image data. We are now able to run satellite missions that generate this image data ourselves, achieving full autonomy.
The Mission Control Center is accompanied by the newly built ground station, designed to support observational satellite missions. It consists of a Legion 400 antenna enclosed in a special dome, which is intended to protect the system from unfavorable weather conditions and to ensure high-quality radio connection. In turn, the system is able to communicate with satellites. In fact, the event included a demonstration of a connection with satellite by a Finnish company, ISI, co-founded by Poland's Rafał Modrzewski, who highlighted the importance of public-private partnerships in pursuit of security.
We've been working together with Ukraine for 3 years to ensure its security and to win the war. I think today's event is a very important step towards securing Poland's future, and as a company we are very grateful that we were able to do this.
Thanks to this project, the Military University of Technology became the first and so far the only institution in Poland to have not only the equipment but also the competence to conduct satellite operations independently. From Warsaw, for TVP World, I'm Sonia Agata-Bischan.
Poland's longest river, the Vistula, is running dry, with water levels falling to their lowest in recorded history. Despite that, experts say small, simple fixes could make a big difference. Konrad Golinski reports.
Well, it's been a hot and dry summer in Poland this year, and these are the results. The hydrological station just behind us here recorded a record low of 7 centimeters of water in the Vistula River around Warsaw. Many are calling this a disaster. The usual measurement at Warsaw Bulwary Hydrological Station at this time of year is around 200 centimeters. So this is no insignificant drop, and it's not expected to get any better anytime soon.
In the coming days, it will drop to 5 or 4 centimeters, and it is possible that at the beginning or middle of September, it will even be 0 at this hydrological station.
And Warsaw is not alone. This map shows the scale of the problem. Areas in black indicate rivers running below average levels, and they stretch right across the country. Now, these low levels are not just a problem for boaters, barge, and ferry operators whose services have been suspended until further notice, but also a threat to the entire ecosystem.
Such low levels also mean that organic material is not collected by the current. Instead, new islands appear and are stabilized by vegetation. Places where animals can take shelter are also disappearing.
And there's also Warsaw's Siekierki power plant, which heats more than half of the city. It's been having problems drawing enough water from the river to cool its systems. So what's happening? Hydrologists say the crisis stems less from drought and more from human activity. Decades of river regulation and intensive sand mining upstream have deepened the Vistula's bed, accelerating erosion and draining its waters.
Of course, the sand mines cause it to decrease, and so-called channeling occurs. So this main current goes through the middle, so to speak, and is not distributed evenly.
Experts stress, however, that Poland is not facing desertification and say simple fixes could help, from halting river regulation to closing drainage ditches and restoring wetlands. So despite these record lows, hydrologists here in Poland are ruling out any possibility that these rivers may dry out completely. But they do warn that without immediate changes, consequences will be felt and they will continue to run low, which will affect nature, infrastructure, and the communities that rely upon the rivers. For TVP World, I'm Konrad Gorlinski.
We return now to our top story, the devastating overnight strikes in Kyiv. And joining me from Ukraine is Mariia Ionova, MP from the European Solidarity faction. Good evening, ma'am. We've sat here before speaking in the wake of a brutal Russian attack. Now another one. Take us to Ukraine. How did the night play out for you?
For us, not good evening. And of course, we thank you to raise this important topic. But what can I tell when we have 18 already killed people, including 4 children, and more than 45 hardly wounded? So we really appreciate all the words of support, but we really need to help Ukraine by military support and by the sanction policy, which has to be increased. That is why, as also 1 week ago I visited Zaporizhia and Donetsk region, is really complicated. And if we are talking about today's strikes, it's the second most biggest strike on civilian infrastructure. And as you know, the damages was the office of EU representative office and also the British Council. So it's international organizations whose premises have been damaged. So that is why it's our common war against Putin, and Putin has showed that he doesn't care about any diplomatic negotiations. He's just he's killing, absolutely brutal killing of children, civilian people, and he doesn't care because he's not punished. He's not enough sanctions. His military machine is full of human resources and finance to finance also his military industry. It's a pity for me to say that we really would like to be together with our partners, more involved in this brutal war, because this war is not a conflict. This war is on European continent, and Putin was, and he is, as usually he repeats, he's clear. He would like to restore the borders of 1997. It means that he would like to divide NATO countries, and he would like to also see the eastern part of Europe in his hands. And yes, now we are on his way. Ukrainians. That is why, to use this opportunity, we appreciate the words of support and the words of concern. But we really need actions, because it's about human lives, and it's really very complicated situation on the front line, and it's really about our future together. That is why we kindly ask to be more active, to be more proactive, to be probably some things we cannot see. And of course, I also realize that a lot of things shouldn't be public. But as I have mentioned, I'm visiting frontline almost every 2 months. And I can say that our soldiers, who are not professional soldiers, who are volunteers, and who are mobilized people, they need to have something in their arms. They're calculating the shells, the shellings, They're calculating, the bullets. They're calculating the problem with the drones. So that is why we kindly ask to continue support Ukraine by weapons, as only this language Putin understands. And also about today's strikes, we need long-distance missiles. We're really looking forward to get long-distance missiles just to damage, to crash the military goals on Russia Federation, not to make them to fly, and also to produce all these huge missiles which are killing our people and children. That is why it's about justice in all the world. That is why we have to stop him altogether. All the peaceful negotiations, it's illusion. He doesn't need them. It's like, for him, it's a weakness, all these diplomatic things. Of course, he is making like lullaby for Americans and for Europeans. And at the same time, he's attacking by missiles, and he's moving more deep into Ukrainian territory. That is why it's up also to Europeans if they would like to have Russians on their territory, or we can stop them together in Ukraine.
You mentioned the illusion, if you like, of peace talks. What is your message then to Donald Trump? He appears to be giving Mr. Putin a long list of second chances, threatening economic sanctions, then pushing the deadline out, aiming for direct talks, then allowing the deadline to be pushed out again. If President Trump was sitting here with me right now, after the night you've just experienced, what do you want to tell him?
First of all, after today's strikes, of course, we are waiting for reaction of President Trump, because he is the main initiator of peace negotiations, and Ukraine has already announced that we are ready, but not on the price of Ukraine. But if President Trump was in your studio, I just want to say that America shouldn't lose their leadership, and USA shouldn't lose themselves. It's will be the biggest lost, and also it's in interest of America to win, and it's in interest of America to have brave people and well-trained people, well-protected people in Europe. It's in interest of Ukraine to have Ukrainian nation, democratic European and pro-NATO nation in the central of Europe. It's an interest of America to return the international law and democracy. And it's in interest of America to have Ukraine on board, because we are reliable partners. Russians are not. They are lying all the time. And that is why it's an interest of Donald Trump to turn his words into actions. We are really looking forward to see actions.
Mariia Ionova, Ukrainian MP from the European Solidarity faction. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Before we go tonight, we want to return to our breaking story. An F-16 jet has gone down ahead of this weekend's Radom Air Show in Poland. The pilot of the aircraft has now been confirmed dead. Our newsroom has obtained footage of the crash, which you can see on your screens as I speak, which shows the plane rapidly losing altitude. And we'll keep you updated with the very latest right here on TVP World. But that is all for World News tonight. Do stay with us. I'm Aaron Darman. Good night.